Ah, hello everyone. It's Ian from Cromford Collector's Corner. I'm here this morning to have a little chat with you about Doctor Who. We didn't get a chance to talk about it last week with Rogue, and I just wanted to chat a little bit about what's potentially about to happen. So I will just start by saying that you're not going to get any kind of homophobic rant from me on this. I have over the years lived a very kind of diverse lifestyle and known all sorts of different people and counted all sorts of different people as friends. So you are not going to find that from me. So obviously with Rogue we had this sort of gay storyline with the Doctor. Sure. I mean, for me, my problem does not come with it being gay. My problem comes with the over romanticisation and the over sexualisation of the Doctor. Personally, it probably says more about me than it does about anything else. But personally, I wasn't a massive fan, controversially, I wasn't a massive fan of the romance between the Doctor and Rose. I wasn't a massive fan of the River Song kind of wife of the Doctor kind of storyline. For me personally, the Doctor is this sort of 1,000-year-old alien that didn't kind of wasn't part of his character, and so for me, as the Doctor says in the anniversary special, these things start to happen more and more. Personally, I'm not a massive fan of that. So I didn't mind the episode. I didn't think it was the best thing ever, but I think it's quite interesting to consider that when The Girl in the Fireplace happened, which was not a same period but similar, with the sort of romantic storyline between the Doctor and Madame de Pompadour, no one blinked an eyelid. And yet, obviously, then when we get two guys, then it is sort of highly controversial, or appears to be, shockingly. I've seen some terrible things being said on the internet. I am not one of those people. My little shop, everyone is welcome, and everyone will receive the same service regardless of their gender or whatever. It doesn't make any difference to me or whatsoever. And I think people should be a little bit more understanding, a little bit more open-minded about these things. Nevertheless, Russell Davies was always going to do things like this. Sure, the bits of it didn't work for me, but I didn't hate it. For me, 73 Yards and the Dot and Bubble have been the best from this series. So there were a couple of things I thought that were quite interesting, and again tied into things that we've talked about before, about how real this season is. And that was when he saw the faces of the old Doctors, there was some really quite odd, I don't know if these are editorial decisions, really quite odd kind of depictions of the Doctors there. John Pertwee looked very old. I'm not quite sure why they did that. And obviously the appearance there of Richard E. Grant in those faces that went round. Now, I'm sure I'm preaching to the converted here, but Richard E. Grant obviously appeared in Scream of the Shulker as the Doctor, which was an animated BBC project from just before the New Who era started. I loved it at the time. So I was very surprised to see his face appear. That seemed rather odd. There was a couple of other things that I've seen that I think we might have missed that I think are worth talking about. So there does appear to have been, and if you look back, the regular appearance of a triangle throughout this season. We've seen it in nearly every episode, as we have Susan Twist. And then we've got this thing with this S Triad, the character that's going to appear in the final episode. So S Triad obviously is an anagram of TARDIS. So it does immediately make me think, oh right, okay, so are we leading down a certain line here? Is this something to do with Susan, the granddaughter, or whatever? And it may be. But also, in my opinion, triad refers to the culmination of three things and is, highly representative of a pyramid. So, again, I might be making a bit of a leap here, and we have talked about this in a previous video, and my Sutek theories, and I'm sure other people have thought this. I'm not suggesting that this is entirely independently thought, but I did think of this quite a bit ago, as you will remember. So, we've got this Tales of the TARDIS special episode coming up between the penultimate and the final episode. And I can't help but imagine that this is either to do with Susan, and a little bit of a recap, because you'll remember, of course, that Tales of the TARDIS are these little kind of vignettes, bookends, that have been created to fit around re-editing of some classic stories on the BBC iPlayer, to a lesser and greater success, I think. For example, why would you re-edit Earthshock and cut out that the fact that there's no music on the last episode? That's like one of the most iconic moments. Yeah, so personally I wouldn't have done that. But you know, if people get to see those episodes and see them afresh, then great. So yeah, so we've got this Tales of the TARDIS episode. So it could cover Susan, or is it going to cover Pyramids of Mars? Because, as I said before, there's been, for me, quite a lot of things that have linked back to that classic Tom Baker story with Sutek the Destroyer. I noticed also, and you'll have seen it in the little image, that the little thumbnail, that on the screen grab of whoever that villainous-looking lady is, there are some mountains in the background that don't just look like mountains, they look like pyramids, right? So, again, I really hope this is going to happen, but I can't help but be drawn to this Sutek idea still at this point. So, yeah. So, I'm for me, that last episode didn't really kind of work. But I am genuinely excited about what's going to happen, and I do really hope that it's Sutek. I think that would be so clever from Russell Davies to kind of, after kind of riling everyone's feathers, the old school fans, to then like pull out like such a classic villain from the old series, and you know, kind of a niche reference. You know, non-Doctor Who fans will not be aware of Sutek. But hardcore Doctor Who fans totally will. So I think that'll be really clever if that's what this is. And again, I'll feel really good because but I'm not sure. I could be completely wrong. But I can't help but he's led us down a path of sort of this sort of Susan thing, making us think, oh yeah, Triad is an anagram of TARDIS. That's totally a Russell Davies thing. But actually, does it mean something completely different? Is it to do with Sutek? I do hope so. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I am super excited. We'll see what happens this weekend. And yeah, if you've got any comments or anything, or you want to subscribe and like this channel. I don't always talk about Doctor Who. I talk about other things that I have in my little shop here in sunny Cromford in Derbyshire. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate you watching this, and yeah, please leave a comment, or I do check these things. I really appreciate it. All right, see you later, guys. Bye.